Okay, welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends and colleagues. My name is Victor, and I'm going to be your anchor for this training. So this is the web design and web development training at the Southtech Academy. So for web design, we're going to be looking at some front-end technologies like HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, WordPress, and for the backend, we're going to be looking at PHP and MySQL with a little bit of JavaScript. So our goal here is what's the content for the web design and web development course. So who should attend this web design and web development? And at times we can refer to as the full stack training, full stack web training. So you want to understand both the front-end technologies. You want to learn how to set up static pages. You want to learn how to set up dynamic pages. You can be a web developer, right? It doesn't matter. You just need passion. You need a guide. And actually, the job of a web designer or developer is within the reach of anyone, as long as you're very passionate about the industry and you're eager to learn. And this channel will bring to you trainings in HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, WordPress, PHP, database administration, and the rest. If you're interested in digitizing your business, at times we talk about ebusiness. Ebusiness is where your offline business processes are now digitalized. Take, for instance, instead of you to collect cash payments, you can now collect payment over a website. So that's e-payment. So instead of you to make a call to a business, you are now chatting on the website with a customer rep. So how do you digitize a business? For instance, you come into a healthcare, like one of our products, our banking software or our medical lab and hospital management system. So instead of coming to the lab or instead of waiting at the lab, the medical lab, for you to receive your results, after your test, you can head back home, log into the web application of the hospital or the lab, and you can download your results. So that way you are digitalizing the business. So if you are interested in digitalizing businesses, or you want to do business process optimization, then this course is for you. If you have interest in e-commerce, blogging, creating online platforms, and you don't actually need to be a tech wizard, I mean, or have endless number of official degrees, provided you have a PC, you have internet connection, you subscribe to this channel, you can very well enroll for any of our physical classes, or right on this channel through this remote course, you can learn web design. Some of the benefits is that it's a very, very high sought after course, right? So there's so many jobs, there's so many businesses, so many enterprise, many ministries, agencies, department of government that would want you to help them digitalize their enterprise, push whatever they have locally offline on their PCs, put them online, or migrate whatever they have online. And you can actually do this as a job or as a freelance career. You can definitely work independently. You can be your own boss. You can work with a team. You can form a startup. You can solve a particular problem. You can solve a problem in healthcare, in fintech, in logistics, in whatever area, provided you can transform your skill sets, your knowledge you've learned, and help it to meet those business needs. And one good thing is that you also can work from anywhere. Like I said, a PC, internet connection, you can typically work from anywhere. So one other thing that the web design, web development course does for you, that it improves your creativity. You could build your own idea from nothing, from scratch, right? Like we normally say, music, arts, programming, these are skill sets that help creativity, even for youngsters, under teenagers, adults, wherever you, whatever age brackets you belong to, this can help your creativity because your goal is actually to solve business problems, enterprise problems. Yes, web design is interesting, it's fun, it could help you to solve problems. Now, the very first part of the course, the front-end part of the course, there's a way at Southtech Academy we've structured this course. Yes, some people might want to learn just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but over 10, 11, 12, 13 years, training students, building solutions for companies and the rest. If you want skill set that will help you to start achieving results very, very fast, right? So learning some of these technologies will help you achieve that. JavaScript most of the times will be focused for persons that want to do backend, or you want to do mobile app development. But if you want to learn front end, you could have a combination of HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, WordPress, or HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So we prefer the HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, WordPress track, because what it does is that it helps you to also build some database-driven applications and some data-driven websites. So one of the goals of this course at the end is that you're able to have a corporate website at the end of the day. You're able to build a blog, you're able to build an e-commerce website and integrate payment on it. Midway this course, we expect every student, if you're on the channel, if you are taking our physical class or our remote class, that you should have a website name of your own. Normally, most website subscription lasts for a year. You should have that, so that all of the projects you're going to be working on, either the e-commerce project, the portfolio websites, the blog websites, the e-commerce website, you can have them there, because it's a very hands-on training. So in the very first module for this course, we're going to be looking at, there's a slide we're going to consider in this training. Is roughly about a 20-page slide or 20-slide document that will introduce you to some aspects of website design fundamentals. After that, we'll get right on to start writing HTML codes. Now, you want to be able to understand what a responsive website means, a website that can adapt to different screen sizes, a website that responds to either your phone, your tablet, your PC, large screen. Those are responsive websites. So you want to understand what that means and how to build such kind of website. You want to understand terms like a website being dynamic, right? A dynamic website is that can serve different types of content for different purpose or different use. Take, for instance, an e-commerce website is a dynamic website because what Mr. A is doing, of course, is not what Mr. B is doing. What I'm going to have in my cart is going to be different from what you're going to have in your cart. What you have in the database as your name is going to be different from what I have. So that's why you call it dynamic. It changes, it adapts depending on what you actually need. So you can compare that to a static website, meaning a website that just presents same thing for every website visitor. And of course, another property of a dynamic website is that it has a database. So you can store information, you could retrieve information. Then we talk about interactive websites. So JavaScript is one thing that helps us to build interactive websites. All of those charts, all of those slides, all of those interactions, the pop-ups and the rest. So you also want to understand software development lifecycle. So as an engineer, as a developer, as a designer, you need to understand that you don't just start building a website. It goes through a cycle from your planning stage to your design stage, to your development stage, to your quality assurance, to your launch, to your testing and the rest. So all of those stages, you should be able to understand that they play a role in helping to tell if your website is going to be successful or not. Then, of course, after we've learned that, we'll now start looking at some intros, right? Some elements, tags, attributes, do some CSS, then we'll run some projects. In module 2, we're going to be looking at a very famous, all-important JavaScript plugin framework, so to say, that can help us build with predefined functions, styles, and the rest. So the beauty about Bootstrap is that either you're using Bootstrap to build a single page application, personal websites, coming soon landing pages, or you want to use Bootstrap to work on projects when you start creating dashboards, admin dashboard, or website portals and the rest. It's very critically important for you to know how to use Bootstrap. So we find so many students that want to do PHP, want to do some use some backend technologies to build some applications and the rest, and they cannot use Bootstrap. So instead of coding hardcore HTML, CSS, and whatever, you could use Bootstrap technology to style up and to make your stuff very, very presentable. So a lot of things you see out there on some websites are very well driven by Bootstrap. So it's powerful, it's accessible, it's feature packed, right? You have a lot of components, a lot of features, a lot of things that you could use to build your website, and you're running very, very fast. Then we're going to introduce you to JavaScript, right? So it's not a JavaScript course, but it's a front-end course. So if you're going to be doing backend, or you're going to be doing mobile app development, or you're going to be doing some other stuff, having a good foundation at this front-end design course is very important, right? So it's an extremely powerful language, right? So we're going to be doing things like the basics, like variables, dictionary, data types, be able to create some basic sliders, do some pop-ups, create a calculator. All of this will help us where we now start doing backend, because most of the times we need to interact with our browser to either collect information or to throw out, tell our users whatever, to reply them whatever action they take on the browser. So next thing we're going to be looking at is the WordPress CMS. So CMS is content management system. So WordPress is one of the most powerful content management system. In this course, we will look at and compare WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Magento, SMF, PHP, BB. There are several other content management systems. So WordPress, over the years, I think I started using WordPress since sometime around 2007, 2008, 9, 10, up to today. Once in a while, I still use WordPress to do some tasks, build some applications, build some websites. So it's very powerful because it could help you build e-commerce websites. It could help you build even some intermediate level development jobs. WordPress will be able to help you achieve that. So it's when WordPress will not be able to give you very detailed delivery on your project. That's when you now want to start coding from scratch or using a PHP framework to deliver your project. But in this front-end design course, we're going to be looking at how do we use WordPress to build a website, how do we use it to do a blog, how do we use it to do a very, very nice e-commerce website. So at this level, at this stage in your course, normally you have a website name, you have a hosting, we'll tell you how to set up an SSL, how to implement security on your website. You'll learn how to use WordPress plugins like e-commerce plugin, Facebook social media sharing plugins, chat plugins, document embed plugin. You could use WordPress to create a recruitment site, a job site, a classified listing site. Quite a lot of things can be created with the power of WordPress plugins and WordPress themes. Then, of course, we'll let you know how to use popular WordPress website builders like Elementor, Bakery or something. And there's quite a lot of them, but I'm very, very much familiar and used to the one of the most popular, which is Elementor. Now, introduction to WordPress CMS, right? So we're going to now look at the features, what you could do with it, learn taxonomy, post types, categories, subcategories. Take, for instance, if you want to build a blog, you need to learn how to break the entire blog into categories. Take, for instance, if you are building a niche blog, let's say politics. So what are the different categories in politics? Let's say politics, healthcare, technology, um, whatever. So all of those categories, you want to learn how to break them, then do subcategories, then understand keywords, then post types. We're going to look at all of these things and implement them. At this particular point in the course, you should have a website name and hosting ready, right? Then in module 5, we're going to be looking at e-commerce websites. How do you create an e-commerce store? How do you add your products, get the pictures? How do you make it possible for users to share, to download, to add to their watch list? What a classical, normal e-commerce website is going to have. You want to learn how to implement that. Also implement a chat system on the website, and also add payment integration. Depending on your country, the payment companies available in your country. So PayPal, Flutterwave, Paystack, Simple Pay for You, to check out. There are so many payment systems around the world, and most of them have WordPress integration options. Then in module 6, we're going to be dwelling very well on information architecture. So information architecture is a very key aspect of UX design, user experience design. So if somebody comes to your website and you don't have proper layout, data information is not being presented properly. Normally, we say there are 4 classes of content. We say there's a text, there's video, there's audio, there's images. So these 4 classes of content, the question is, how do you present it to your users? So understanding information architecture, understanding taxonomy will help you lay out your content, do some wireframes, then plan your website, then deploy it. Then in module 7, we're going to be looking at plugins. So what's the role of a plugin in a WordPress website? So it's that piece of software that extends the functionality of a website. Just WordPress as it is will not be able to do much, just like Bootstrap on its own cannot do so much. So you might need to do the backend course to be able to understand how to programmatically work with Bootstrap. For WordPress, for instance, the core software cannot do so much, but with themes and plugins, you can actually extend the existing functionality of the site. Take, for instance, you could turn a WordPress website to an online learning website. You can turn it to a classified listing website. You can turn it into an e-commerce website. You can turn it into any kind of thing, really, right? So you have abundant, in there hundreds of thousands plugins and themes that you could use, both free and paid, that can turn your website to a full-fledged website. So you're going to learn to do things like sliders on your website, have a coming soon or a maintenance implementation on your website. For instance, when you want to build your website, the first thing you want to do is purchase the domain name for the client, set up the hosting account for the client. Then the next thing you want to do is just put a coming soon on the website while you work behind the scenes. So a plugin will be able to do that for you just within 2 seconds. Contact form, right? If people come to the website, how do you collect their details and it's been sent to an email or it's been dropped in the dashboard? How do you implement live chat? So there's a whole lot of plugins that we can implement on our website. In module 8, we're going to be looking at how do we create a multi-vendor site. So a multi-vendor site is slightly different from a conventional e-commerce website. For an e-commerce website, you have a website owner and you have so many clients that want to buy from that website owner. But in a multi-vendor website, that is a replica of a marketplace, like what you have on Amazon, Shopify, eBay, Jumia, Konga, and so many countries have their own versions of AliExpress, have their own version of what a marketplace looks like. So in this course, you're going to be learning how to use Dokan to build an enterprise level multi-vendor site. So the approach is always more than one vendor, more than one seller can sell on a website, and the owner of the website is going to collect commission for setting up or creating the marketplace for those sellers. In module 9, we're going to be seeing how do we transfer, how do we migrate, how do we buy the domain name, host it, and migrate all of the things that we've been building and push it to the cloud. You could use any hosting platform as your choice, but Southtech is a hosting platform, southtechhosting.com. We've been hosting since 12 years ago, 2010, because most of our projects, most of our websites, we host them on our servers. So first step is that you create an account, you save whatever you have offline, you can export the database from your local development environment. Normally in this course, 2-3 things you're going to be using is your Visual Studio Code, right? I'm also going to be using your XAMPP, depending, XAMPP XAMPP. That's X stands for cross-platform, Apache, MySQL, PHP, and Perl. Or if you prefer, if you use a Windows PC, you can use WAMP, that is Windows, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Or if you use a Linux system, you could use LAMP, that is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Or if you are using a MacBook, then you could use MAMP, Macintosh, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So whatever operating system that you use, you can actually follow up with this course. Then from your XAMPP or your WAMP or your LAMP or wherever, you could export the database that you have locally that you've been building all the while. Then import it to your hosting platform, then test your website. Hooray, you're going to have your website live. So in this course, it's not a web security course. We have other cybersecurity programs and trainings in the channel. You could check that up. Make sure you subscribe, invite your friends. But we're going to be laying some foundations on how you can make sure your website is secured. You can set up a website today and tomorrow it is hacked. So how do you prevent that? So things like implementing secure socket layer security, things like hardening your website using some plugins like Sucuri, WordFence will tell you how to do that. Things like limiting the login attempt on the website, right? You want to learn how to install, activate, set up, and work with them. So another bonus we give to students in this course is understand the business of web design. How do you quote? How do you freelance? And we're going to be having some, normally a mentorship program, either on Telegram or we're used to running them on WhatsApp, so that even after your course, you could always ask questions. You could have several follow-up. Somebody might be asking, why should I learn web design? Yes, in fact, pretty much anybody can become a web designer with the right amount of experience, hard and smart work, with a lot of resources that we're going to be giving you. You need to invest your time. Of course, we're going to be running quite a number of projects. We have 5 projects for the course. You're going to be doing some research, then at the end of the day, we can certify you. Thank you very much for looking at this curriculum overview. If you check the channel, you will see trainings on HTML, on Bootstrap, or blog creation, and quite a lot of them. You could enroll for the course either remotely or in any of our physical locations.